astronauts to the moon.
Ignition sequence start. 3, 2, 1.
Houston, we have a problem.
Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
We copy you on the ground. You got a bunch of guys about to turn blue.
What you're seeing here is a mirage.
What's going on, everyone? It's Jaronism, back with another video for you today. The tragedy in Tucson. You may or may not remember the January 8, 2011 shooting that killed Judge John Roll and others, and injured Congresswoman Gabrielle Giffords and others as well. Now, what exactly went on? Who knows? The media tells you a story, and that story is a lie. That much I know. But I will remind anyone first to do your own research. If you want to believe the story as told, you can go right ahead. But I will point out a few things quickly as reasons why I certainly don't buy this story, and finally, why I see it as important. First, let's watch a recent speech by Gabby Giffords from the Democratic National Convention, and watch and listen carefully. See if you can point out if she has any difficulty saying any words, and if so, which ones.
Hello, fellow Democrats! What a crowd! I'm honored to be here today. We have important work ahead of us, work that will determine the future of our country. Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? I'm ready. In Congress, I learned a powerful lesson. Strong women get things done. Hillary is tough. Hillary is courageous. She will fight to make our families safer. In the White House, she will stand up to the gun lobby. That's why I'm voting for Hillary. Speaking is difficult for me, but come January, I want to say these two words: Madam President. Thank you very much. Speaking is difficult for me. Speaking is difficult for me.
Are you mental?
Oh, is speaking default for you, Gabby? Obviously, being a lying piece of shit is not. Again, believe what you want, and I'll believe that Gabby and her astronaut or astronaut husband should be behind bars. Did you think that that speech was given by someone mentally handicapped? Well, let's remember she was shot in the forehead. Or wait, was it the back of the head? Well, let's check in with doctors. They should know what happened.
It went through on the left side, basically from the back to the front.
What does the left side control?
In most people, the left side controls their right-sided strength, sensation. In most people, it also controls their speech functions, their ability to understand speech or make speech.
You know, when you get shot in the head and a bullet goes through your brain, the chances of you living is very small, and the chances of you waking up and actually following commands is even much smaller than that.
When the Congresswoman came in the door, did you think she'd make it?
I knew.
You knew she'd make it?
Yeah.
When the Congresswoman came in the door, did you think she'd make it?
I knew.
You knew she'd make it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, you knew she'd make it, did you, Dr. Ree?
You know, when you get shot in the head and a bullet goes through your brain, the chances of you living is very small, and the chances of you waking up and actually following commands is even much smaller than that.
So, Dr. Peter Rhee was her physician. Let's see what we can find out about him. Here he is dressed in his military garb. That is, of course, because Dr. Rhee is a 24-year veteran of the United States Navy, and during a trip to China in 1998, he was selected to accompany U.S. President Bill Clinton as his designated surgeon. Certainly a small world. You are the president's attending physician for a trip to China, and then you just happen to be the attending trauma physician for U.S. Representative Gabrielle Giffords, who had been shot in the head near Tucson, Arizona. And so, while Gabby has made a remarkable recovery, she does have some debilitating after effects, like not being able to see out of her right eye. So let's watch as honest and upstanding NASA astronaut Mark Kelly shows us an example of how hard it is for her to see out that right eye.
If Gabby's looking at me, like she can't see, tell me when you see my finger.
Yes.
Okay. So all the right side.
Yeah, you'll notice he even slows his hand down, moving it here, as if to say, hey, lying Jew wife of mine, now's good. And no, that's not racist. That's not anything other than reporting facts. She is a Jew. And for the record, I have no issue with Jews, or with Muslims, or with blacks, or with whites, but I have an issue with all Jews, all Muslims, all blacks, and all whites who lie and cheat and steal and pretend they can't see out of their right eye when they clearly can.
So if Gabby's looking at me, like she can't see, tell me when you see my finger.
Yes.
So all the right side.
Yep, her entire right side completely blind. Poor Gabby. Next, in the very same interview, not more than a minute later, after they just got done telling you that she cannot see out of her right eye, to check your intelligence level, they will show you now that she plays the French horn and reads music from her blind side.
Music, it turns out, is easier than language. At 44, she's trying to relearn the French horn. She used to play it in marching band.
Is that from when you had in high school?
It's high school.
It's your same horn.
It's the same horn.
And you hadn't picked it up for years and years?
Years.
So what was it about public service that always inspired you?
I have a passion for helping people. Always have.
Mark Kelly was in public service of a different sort. Navy captain and test pilot, he joined NASA and flew 4 missions aboard the space shuttle, commanding the Endeavor's final flight, while Gabby was undergoing brain surgery.
Yes, you heard that right. He flew a NASA mission while his wife was undergoing brain surgery, because that happens all the time to people whose wives are really not in brain surgery.
What was that like for you?
It was hard. You know, she was on the operating table literally as I was looking out the window flying the rendezvous. We're both going 17,500 miles an hour. And I've got to fly this within about 2 inches to docking while Gabby's in there with the neurosurgeon.
Did you worry about him?
Yes.
You worried about me? My last trip into space?
Yeah.
Oh, you were worried about him, huh? Just like he worried about you while he maneuvered that space shuttle at 17,500 miles per hour to dock with the ISS. Hey, by the way, where is that space shuttle? Oh, you know, the one that used to take up to 7 people to and from space and dock with the ISS? Oh, you guys got rid of them. All 4 of them? All gone? Great. It's a nice expenditure of taxpayers' money. So now how do we get astronauts to the ISS? Oh, we pay Russia. And how much do we pay for each seat? $81 million to send one person to the ISS. So that's about $243 million to send 3 up there. That's certainly interesting. I guess we couldn't have kept the space shuttles going for that much money. Would have cost well beyond that, even though they could already fly to and from space. If anybody believes this stuff and doesn't see the absolute theft of taxpayers' money, more power to you. Now, many might say, why? Why, Jaron? Why all this? And if I told you gun laws, you might have a problem with it.
And they formed Americans for Responsible Solution, a political action committee that raised millions to push for gun control.
Congress is afraid of the gun lobby. Tell Washington it's too dangerous to wait.
When a bipartisan proposal for expanded federal background checks failed by just a handful of votes back in 2013, Gabby stood behind an angry President Obama in the Rose Garden.
So all in all, this was a pretty shameful day for Washington.
A lot of you might say, but all of this for gun laws? Well, I won't cover in this video, but do some research on Judge John Roll, and you will find another reason for this tragedy in Tucson. But besides that, yeah, gun laws are a pretty big deal to these people. Let's listen to Eric Holder tell us just how big.
Also ask people who have influence over youngsters, entertainers, athletes to be involved in this program as well. But not only them, community leaders, Jesse Jackson, Mayor Barry, people who have credibility with young people should be on the television, on the radio, as much as we possibly can, and telling these youngsters that it's wrong to carry a gun, and that if you have information about people who are carrying guns, you've got to share that with Chief Thomas and with his people as well. I've also asked the school board to make a part of every day some kind of anti-violence, anti-gun message. Every day, every school, at every level. One thing that I think is clear with young people and with adults as well is that we just have to be repetitive about this. It's not enough to simply have a catchy ad on a Monday and then only do it every Monday. We need to do this every day of the week and just really brainwash people into thinking about guns in a vastly different way. And just really brainwash people into thinking about guns in a vastly different way.
Now, many others might say, Jaron, how dare you make fun of a handicapped person? Well, I'm actually doing this out of respect for those who have a real mental issue, yeah, but not those who fake them. And if I'm wrong, well, they can take me to court. And when they do, I will ask for copies of one document in particular.
Soon it becomes clear that a congresswoman has been shot.
We have a caller who believes that Gabrielle Giffords was shot. That's multiple victims. Sounds like many people are shot.
Moments later, an army of law enforcement and rescue personnel is racing to the scene. Loeffner was arrested at the scene.
Customers have tackled the suspect. They are holding him down at the Safeway.
Today at the command center for the Loeffner investigation, the hunt for clues continued.
Did you spot it? Did you see the document I would ask to see?
Today at the command center for the Loeffner investigation, the hunt for clues continued.
If we slow it down, you'll see that there is a document called Operation Safeway. Operation Safeway. Would love to see the contents of this document.
On the morning of the shooting, Loeffner's father saw him with a black bag. Police also know Loeffner bought ammunition from Walmart on the morning of the shooting.
That's the frustrating thing, Diane. Police, friends, and neighbors say we may never know why this happened.
Tonight, investigators are trying to piece together what is going on inside this man's mind, behind those eyes, and that sinister smile.
And this is where the story just starts to break down. Let's listen to some neighbors talk about the 22-year-old Jared Loeffner.
But other neighbors say the parents were part of the problem.
I saw a child that wanted to come out and play and, wasn't allowed to come out and play for whatever the reason may be.
Oh, you saw a 22-year-old kid who wasn't allowed to come out and play? What do you mean? Maybe this is a few years back when he was 20 or 18 or 16? What are you talking about? A child that can't come out and play.
And today, one of Loeffner's friends offered new insight into why his behavior was often so erratic. He tells ABC News Loeffner was a heavy drug user.
I know he had smoked pot. I know he had used psilocybin mushrooms. I know he's used salvia divinorum.
Tonight, sources tell us that employees inside the gun store that sold Loeffner the weapon did so reluctantly. They found him strange. Now, many expect an insanity defense. They made that sale because they had to. His background check came up clean, Diane.
Even those in the gun store. Thank you, Pierre, for your reporting.
Yes, thank you, Pierre, for your excellent investigative journalism. What if I told you that there was an arrest, a booking, and several trials, and yet there is not one, and I repeat, not one image or video of Jared Loeffner alive at all from any point after the event, or actually after the mugshot? Not one. Where is Jared Loeffner today? Well, today Jared is serving life imprisonment, actually 7 life sentences, after he pleaded guilty in November 2012. And again, for anybody doing any research into this subject, they'll know that the whole story makes no sense. For instance, he got in an argument with his father on that morning, carrying a black bag, and the dad asked him, "What are you doing? What is that? Where are you going?" And Jared mumbled something back to his dad. His dad said he didn't understand that. It was unintelligible, and then Jared left. Now, this is supposedly at 7 o'clock in the morning. At 7:30 a.m., Mark Hart, spokesman for the Arizona Game and Fish Department, said that Loeffner was stopped by an officer for running a red light. And, okay, so he runs a red light at 7:30. He's given a verbal warning and released. Now, if you look at the documents and all the testimony, you'll find out that one of the people that were wanted as a person of interest was a certain driver that was leaving the scene. Well, that driver turned out to be a taxi driver who dropped off the suspect at the shopping center. So somehow this person, Loeffner, went somewhere and dropped off his car and then took a taxi to the Safeway. Here's video of Jared Loeffner supposedly arriving at court for sentencing. Do you see him anywhere? I sure don't. I mean, this case has so many holes, errors, and nonsense involved. It really is an attack, or an expose, if you will, on the intelligence of the citizens of the world. I mean, the fact that people buy this story at all, or Gabby's act, or what has happened to Loeffner, is ridiculous. Again, there are no images, as in 0, and no video, as in 0. All that we get are these drawings. I thought the 1800s are over. Nope, we still get colored pencil drawings or sketches of these so-called perpetrators.
Here to make a statement?
You're not going to go to the back?
They won't let us.
Oh, they want to front.
What's the matter? Were you expecting a hero's welcome, Hernandez? No. Now, you may recognize this lady. Who is she? She is Jared Loughner's defense attorney. Her name is Judy Clark. Now, where have you maybe seen her before? I don't know, maybe one of her other high-profile clients. Her list consists of kind of a who's who in the hoax community. First, she represented Theodore Kaczynski, if you remember him, the Unabomber, who he actually testified or was quoted as saying Judy Clark is a bitch on wheels and a sicko. And I tend to trust that guy. Another one of her clients was Zacharias Muasasol. Sure, I blew that name. Basically, he was one of the suspects in 9/11. She also represented Eric Randolph, who was the guy who was charged in the Centennial Olympic Park bombing of 1996. She also represented, as we know, Jared Lee Loughner. She also represented, after that, Johar Sarnaya, who, if you remember him, was from the Boston Marathon bombings. So she just gets these guys. I don't know how. I'm sure it has nothing to do with anything at all. And of course, there was eyewitness accounts, including this doctor who tells us what he saw.
You actually were right behind. You were in line getting ready to see the congresswoman when you looked up.
There was actually no line. It was so informal. There was a very sort of loose, informal crowd, maybe 25 people. And I passed by the table, then moved toward the side of the table. When I looked up, he was shooting Congressman Giffords.
And you saw the bullet go right through her head.
I saw that. I did see that happen.
You said it took some time for the emergency medical teams to arrive.
I think what I'm told is that the sheriffs had to clear the area, make sure it was safe before they were allowed on. But it did take some time. Again, time seems to take on a different perspective when you're in that situation. It may have seemed longer than it was, but.
One of the great things is that places like Safeway have video footage and surveillance footage of this event. Let's check it out.
The FBI is, in fact, reviewing crystal clear surveillance video from the Tucson shopping center that captures the rampage in chilling detail. Safeway surveillance tape allegedly shows Jared Loughner walking into the picture at 10:10 a.m. He quickly moves around a table and shoots Congresswoman Giffords in her left forehead, just above her eye. At the time the shot is fired, Loughner is within 3 feet of Giffords.
It went through on the left side. Basically from the back to the front.
It shoots Congresswoman Giffords in her left forehead, just above her eye.
It went through on the left side, basically from the back to the front.
Congresswoman Giffords was shot at very close range. The bullet apparently entering her head from the rear and then traveling out the front of the skull. A trajectory on the screen right now, as described by the physicians who treated her. They made the point that the bullet stayed entirely through the left side, in the left side of her brain. It apparently entered her skull from the rear and exited through the front somewhere above the eye.
What exactly do you think her injuries really were?
Well, we do have some details about the injuries to her brain. What we do know is that the bullet went into her head at the back on the left-hand side, and it exited at the front just above her left eye. Now, that means it's what's called a through-and-through injury.
So here to explain how Congresswoman Giffords seemingly beat the odds is medical correspondent Dr. Jennifer Ashton. Jen, good to have you with us here on site this morning. We're learning that the bullet came in the back of her head, and then exited through the front and happened on the left side. How important are those things, that it was the back of the head and also the side?
Critically important. So if you look at the brain, and this is a cross-section of it, what we know is that the bullet went through the rear left portion of the brain and exited through the front left portion of the brain.
And shoots Congresswoman Giffords in her left forehead, just above her eye. At the time the shot is fired, Loughner is within 3 feet of Giffords.
It went through on the left side, basically from the back to the front.
Can you show us, Dr. Reed, by pointing to your own head, where the bullet entered and where it exited?
Oh, I'd love to do that, but right now I've been requested not to because I think the crime scene is not fully investigated yet, and also the family has asked that we not be too graphic about that. So it's just suffice to say that, it was a bad head injury that went through her brain.
Then, according to officials who have seen the video, Loughner turns to his left, facing the crowd, and the shooting continues. Footage allegedly shows muzzle flashes as the gun is fired.
7-8,
Then an act of heroism captured on video. The suspect shoots Ron Barber. Federal District Judge John Roll tries to help Barber and is later shot in the back. Barber survived. Roll did not. In all, sources say Loeffner fired 32 rounds before he was tackled by participants at Giffords' event.
These tapes are described as painful to watch, but don't expect to be seeing them anytime soon. They're in the custody of the FBI and won't likely be released until trial.
Alrighty then, so the trial's over. Can we see the tapes now? Let's see this public evidence. Oh, we can't? So there's no video or photo evidence that Loeffner is even still alive? Just some sketches? Unbelievable. And yet, you're a kook if you think this was a conspiracy. Yeah, laughable.
Was riveted when Gabrielle Giffords herself and her husband, Commander Mark Kelly, got up to speak to Loeffner. They walked into the courtroom. Giffords is limping. Her right arm is in a sling. And her husband, Mark Kelly, said she no longer really has the gift of speech, that Jared Loeffner took that away from her. But Giffords stood and looked directly at Loeffner, the man who shot her. Mark Kelly addressed Loeffner directly, often rather angrily. Among the things he said, "You put a bullet in her head, but you haven't put a dent in her spirit." Gabrielle Giffords did not address Loeffner directly, but she kissed her husband, Mark Kelly, when they finished speaking, walked and sat down. Jared Loeffner was sentenced to 140 years and 7 life sentences, all consecutively. The judge says he will never get out of prison.
Yeah, Steve, it really is amazing. She actually had the bullet go all the way through her head. It went through her brain, and still she was responding to commands, which really is remarkable.
No, better.
It's better?
She wants to get better.
Better.
You want to get better.
Better.
She wants to get better.
Better.
You want to get better.
Better.
Doctors had advised Kelly at first to give her limited information, telling her only that she had been shot. Then, on March 12th, Kelly was reading her a newspaper article about her recovery, not knowing how well she had already begun to follow words. He skipped over something. This is a photo of the moment it happened.
So this photo is from March 12th. March 12th, that's 2 months after the event in which they would have shaved her head. She would have scars that would not be grown over with hair at this point. This isn't a wig, so it looks to me like somebody got a haircut in January. There is no signs of any head injury here. And what is the story here? You ever been in a hospital? Can you get behind somebody to take their picture from behind their head? I don't think so. And in what hospital do the nurses gather around for story time as you read the newspaper to your injured spouse? What are these doctors doing just standing at the foot of the bed? I'm not even sure that is the foot of the bed. In fact, I'm pretty sure that this is a scripted moment and a photo set up just to show this portion of her recovery. Another classic bit of nonsense that came out in this case was someone took a photo of the speech that Gabrielle gave to Congress 2 years after the accident. Written nicely, but strangely as if it is written to be said the way she said it. Also, Gabrielle is right-handed, and are you telling me that she can write left-handed that perfectly 2 years after this event? Well, it comes out days later. It's finally admitted that Gabby didn't actually write this. No, her speech therapist did. Okay, that makes sense. Clean it up, clean it up, clean it up. It's all you guys do. And why not? Everybody in the world believes this event took place. Well, everybody but one. I leave you once more with the speech that we opened up with, her speech at the Democratic National Convention.
Strong women get things done. Is tough. Hillary is courageous. She will fight to make our families safer. In the White House, she will stand up to the gun lobby. That's why I'm voting for Hillary. Speaking is difficult for me, but come January, I want to say these 2 words, Madam President. Thank you very much.
So, why is this important? Well, because it's just another state-sponsored, government-backed, media-pushed bit of fakery playing on the heartstrings of the unsuspecting public. Because millions out there can't use their head, and the news says it was real, and the friends say it was real, and your family says it so too. And if you don't sympathize with the victims, you're a monster. Well, call me a monster for doing my own research and calling a liar a liar. And really, should I be surprised? Her husband has been faking space, pretending to go into orbit, hoaxing the world while pretending to do the impossible. Well, these people have no issue with doing what many of us would consider impossible. Hoaxes, false flags, media fakery, and bullshit stories fill our lives, and many love the lies so much they won't dare look into them. If you're about truth, I suggest you do some research, but if you like to be lied to, protected from boogeymen, and treated like cattle, then line up like everyone else. Line up for public indoctrination, eat your GMOs, watch your nightly news, and get your children vaccinated, because it's for your own good. And who knows better than the same group that has put the United States almost $20 trillion in debt. Let's listen to them. Don't listen to me, that'd be dumb. Listen to those who care about you, like Mark Kelly and Gabby Giffords.
Okay. Thank you for inviting me here today. This is an important conversation for our children, for our communities, for Democrats and Republicans. Speaking is difficult, but I need to say something important. Violence is a big problem. Too many children are dying. Too many children. We must do something. It will be hard, but the time is now. You must act. Be bold. Be courageous.
Be careful. Some people will do the unimaginable to fool you. So be kind, don't lie, and open your mind, because there's truth inside. This has been Jaronism. Till next time.